We have, I think, between, in terms of people that are registered, we have well over 100. I think about 177 have registered. I'm not sure if they're all up yet or have connected. Like all meetings, different ones turn up slightly late occasionally, even when you're turning up from home. A couple of things, just to let you know, as far as we're able to, we've muted and switched off your audio and possibly even your video as well. I'm not quite sure on that. And should anyone be able to switch theirs on, then it's nothing personal, but we won't have that, so we can actually speak more clearly. You will be able to submit questions via the chat facility. And for any that are linked in on Facebook, they should be able to do so that way as well. And what we're going to do is we'll have an opportunity for questions towards the end. Shadi, who I'll introduce shortly, will speak for between half an hour and 40 minutes, I believe, and then we'll go from there. So I hope you're able to hear us all okay, and we look forward to hearing what Shadi has to say. I'm just going to give a brief introduction. I've been very pleased to know Shadi now for just over 6 years, I believe, but it seems more like a lifetime, frankly. Visited both in Israel, and he came over to us in Brighton just recently to speak at a Celebrate Israel conference. Shadi's an Aramean Christian Maronite Israeli, a Philos Fellow. He's chairman and founder of the Israeli Christian Aramaic Association, and that's an NGO which provides the Aramaic identity, heritage, and language. And he lives in an area near Safat, and is also looking to construct the first Christian Aramaic community town, or rebuilding in the Galilee. Shadi in 2007 started lobbying for Christians in Israel to be allowed to register as Aramean on their identity cards, and that led in September 2014 approval from the Israeli government. And then in 2015, in the Israeli elections then and since, he has been a candidate as the first native local Christian Aramean for the Knesset. So Shadi, I'm going to hand over to you now. Look forward very much to hear what you have to say, and then I will field some questions later. Thank you.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you for the Zionist Federation of UK. And as Jacob said almost everything. So yes, my name is Shadi Khalloul. I am Israeli Christian citizen. And I live in Upper Galilee in northern Israel, very close to the Lebanese-Israeli border, in a village called Jish, or Gush Chalav in the Hebrew biblical name of it. It was a Jewish town 2,000 years ago in Jesus' time and in the biblical time. And we live here today, and I'm gonna share with you about our Christian population in Israel as native Christian Aramaic person who belong to the Syriac Maronite Church of Antioch. It's a very ancient church in the region, founded by Saint actually Peter, the Antiochian Church. Peter was a Jewish, one of the disciples of Jesus. You know, his name is Shimon ben Yonah, Simon. And so let's not forget that issue as well. And they know that our origins as Christians here in the land, as native Christians, developed from Judaism. And we share with them a very, very early common roots, which depend on or based on Aramaic language and identity. And so I will gonna share with you all the actual things, how it's happening in the land, and the historical development as well. So let's start by sharing the presentation with you. And let's share the presentation and we start. So you can see here the First of all, our association is called, or NGO is called Israeli Christian Aramaic Association. I am a captain reserve in the IDF. I served in the IDF and paratroopers in 1993. I am very proud of being also a commander and an officer in charge even of Jews. Jewish soldiers were under my charge. I was actually under as well attack in one of the IDF battles in South Lebanon. I have almost like let's say a bomb there that fall very close to me, and I had something with my left ear that I lost my hearing a little bit for a while, and now it's better. But just to let you know, our aim is in Israel is for better Christian-Jewish relations as a minority of Christians to live together with Jews in coexistence and help Israel defend itself and help Jews and Christians in the world unite better and form a better alliance based on understanding of the common roots and heritage and values that they share together based on common one book that we call the Bible that grant of us a very basic values that we call it democratic values of today as well. So who is Christians in Israel? Who are the Aramean or the Aramaic people? Let's go together and find out what our identity first. Here is Nazareth. You can see the Church of Annunciation in Nazareth. And we have many soldiers comes out from Nazareth, Christian soldiers, and from the Galilee region as well. Here we're gonna talk about the introduction already talked about it, about the introduction, about who I am. I don't need to go again about it, but we're going to talk about the identity, about the Christian minority and the in Jewish Democratic State of Israel. We're going to talk about the Aramaic Association work for building coexistence and peaceful model in a conflict of region that will give hope for others to follow, which will make good for Israel and Jews and Christians and other minorities in the country and worldwide. The achievement that we got in Israel and how we make it actually, how we do it, and which is not easy, but we have successful actually achievements under this leadership or model of ICAA, the Israeli Christian Aramaic Association. And why it's important for Israel and for us and for the Jews as well. In the Knesset, what we are doing in the Knesset, the meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu and what we have achieved since then. How we face the waves of incitements against our community, only for reviving Aramaic and trying to preserve our language and recruiting our youth to be part of Israel through IDF, the melting pot. So we're gonna discuss all these issues. Here I'm gonna talk about first of all, how many Christians we have in Israel. In Israel, we have 2% Christian population, indigenous native Christians of the land, which means around 170,000 Christians in Israel live in the Israel proper. I'm not including that with the Christians in the Judea and Samaria region under Palestinian Authority. This is not included. I'm talking about Israel proper, Jerusalem, Jaffa, Lud, Ramle, Haifa, Nazareth, and North. Most of the Christians, those of the 2%, live in the Galilee region. Now, the Christians, who are those Christians of the Fertile Crescent? The Christians of the Fertile Crescent belong to the Syriac Aramaic population who inhabited this region before even they were Christians. And if we want to go back like to someone who you all know, let's go back to Abraham, the patriarch. Abraham was of Aram, from Aram Naharaim. Aram Naharaim was a region in north, what is Mesopotamia of today. And in Aram Naharaim, this Aramaic kingdom, Abraham come from, and Isaac, even when he got married to Rebekah, which is the wife, Rebekah is the sister of Laban the Aramean. Laban the Aramean as well was the father of Leah and Rachel, the wives of Jacob, who was called Israel. And from there, we have the Israelites, the 12 tribes of Israel. And not all of those Arameans become believing on one God, as Abraham started with monotheist faith. They kept being pagans until Jesus, the Messiah, we believed as Christians or as Arameans that he was a Messiah. And we believed on him together with the early Christians who were developed from Judaism and spoke Aramaic language. And we become called Messianics, or in Aramaic, Mshihoye. And we have the early churches that were developed from those disciples of Jesus. They are Jews, like Simon and like who is Peter, Simon was Shimon ben Yonah, and St. Paul and others founded the early churches. And we, on those early churches, my friends, who were founded by Jews, we will still actually preserve their own actually rites and prayers until today in the Antiochian churches of the Middle East. And those Antiochian churches, my friend, are Antiochian Syriac Maronite Church, the Maronites, who are based mainly in Lebanon. Some about 10,000 people like me, for example, in North Israel, Haifa, Gush Halav, and Galilee. We have the Antiochian Syriac Orthodox Church, the Jacobites, we call them, and Syriac Catholic Church, and Antiochian Syriac Melkite Church, which is called today as well under another name called Greek Orthodox and Greek Catholic, Melkite. And we have other members of native Christians who followed Latin Roman Catholic Church and Protestant or Anglican and churches or evangelical churches. This is the majority of Christians in what you can find here in Israel. Here is like a map of the region back then. And just to get an idea here, for example, Aram Damascus, Aram Tsoba, Aram Naharaim here, and here is down Jerusalem. And the way of Abraham came from all this land of Aram Naharaim between the two rivers up to here and down to Jerusalem and Hebron, and where this land was promised to him and his descendants. And we know all the story and the development of the history, and we don't need to go there. But basic facts we should know, and before we go deeper, is that before Arabic conquest to the Levant, which means this region, Israel, North Israel, Lebanon, Iraq, and Syria, before this conquest happened, Israel, actually land, was not Arabic land. This is very important. The Arabic conquest started under Islamic, they call it jihad, in the 7th century, and they conquered the Middle East after winning a war against the Byzantine Empire in this region and under the Persian Empire in the region of Iraq. And the Christian population and even Jewish population who used to live here, they were Aramaic speakers at that time, because Aramaic was the lingua franca of the entire Middle East. This is a fact. With the Islamic conquest and occupation they founded the Islamic Caliphate, and with its capital moving it from Mecca, which is Arab Peninsula, to Damascus in what we call today Syria. It was under Umayyad dynasty. Now, a large Arab population moved from Arabia and settled on the new land that they occupied, and settled inside Aramaic and speaker people and the villages and towns, and slowly imposing Arabic language and Islamic culture and identity. Many local languages were forgotten after that because of the power of the Islamic State Caliphate, imposing the only official language that should be only Arabic. And within many generations, those early Christians, Aramaic speaking, and Jews become speaking Arabic language because of this brutal force that they lived in it under dhimmi rules, and they had no choice. but they kept their language as a sacred language in their churches until today, like we do pray in our church in Aramaic language. And the Jews, thanks God, succeeded in reviving Hebrew language lately with Eliezer ben Yehuda and the project of Zionism and reviving the Hebrew language as a national language for the Hebrews and the Jews. And they succeeded. And the Aramean people, the Christian indigenous native people, hopefully one day they will revive the Aramaic, not only keeping it as a sacred language, but also making it as a spoken national language for them again in this region. It's very important for preserving also identity. Native Christians suffered from genocide as well. Native Christians in the region through this 1,400 years of Islamic Arabic conquest, they faced a real genocide. And genocide, according to UN definition, just to let you know, it has different phases. It has a physical phase and it has a silent phase, which is cultural and linguistic phase. So physical phase is attacking communities, massacring communities, oppressing them, and annihilating them. And a silent one, which is cultural and linguistic, is just keeping pressure on the community until they lose their culture and identity and language. And this is what Christians actually until today facing in the Middle East. And in Israel, the situation is different. In Israel, for example, we find out that in Israel, which is the only democratic state and under Jewish control and regime of Israel, we have a democratic state, thanks God. The Christians feel much, much better, much safer, and we have those 2% Christians, which is 171,000 people. We have 141,000 of native Israeli Oriental Christians, and other like 30,000 comes like from Russia or from European countries that live in Israel, which is only like 20 to 30,000. As I said, majority of us live in the Galilee region in a mixed towns among a majority of Muslim majority or a mixed towns with Jewish majority, like in Haifa, like in Upper Nazareth, like in Ma'alot, like in other locations. And we're gonna talk also about it and what's happening here in the land. The Christians have a highly educated percentage of people that getting degrees, one of the highest in the country. 63% finish high schools. Many of them go to academic degrees, like to a first degree, bachelor degree, and master degree. And many actually successful, very successful in education. And many of the Christians invest on education because as a minority, tiny minority, they think this is the only way you can better integrate within a greater society as a minority. Like Jews, for example, living abroad, when they feel they are a minority and they invest, many of them, in education in USA, in Britain, or in other European countries, they invest in education and they become very successful in those countries too. Immigration from Arabic towns to Jewish majority cities in Israel. This is a process that is happening in Israel. And this just shows you a very basic fact that Christians under Arabic towns within a Muslim majority here, they are not enjoying their high quality of life. They are not enjoying a freedom, and they prefer to go and live under a Jewish majority towns like in Haifa and in other locations. And this is because they run from oppression and from lack of freedom on the Arabic towns they live in. They prefer to live with Jews majority town. Low fertility of the Christian community, because we have 2.2% of fertility. It's the lowest in the country, by the way. We have a similar, we are almost like Jewish Ashkenaz. Jewish Ashkenaz has like Ashkenazi Jew like 2.4%. We are 2.2%. And Christians in general, because they have like a 2.2 as well, a percentage of a low fertility rate, and because of higher education, we enjoy as well a higher quality of life, because we have less children, we have more actually economic abilities to invest on in our education, on education for our youth, and from there we can achieve more also good positions and work and employment, which make your life much better. And we are open-minded society, we are free, open-minded society, and with Western values like Jews in Israel. And so we enjoy this Israeli democracy in a better way. Now, Israel democracy has, just to people who don't know, or people who try to attack Israel and tell us Israel is not a democracy and Israel is apartheid, just to remind them, Israel is a great democracy, has one equal law for all citizens. And people in Israel, Jews, Christian, Muslims, Bedouins, Circassians, whatever background you are, it doesn't matter. You obey to one equal law in this country. No difference. What happened for Jews will happen to Christians, will happen to Muslims. What law it is will be obeyed or will be applied to everyone. Now, we as Christians work in all sectors and fields in the Israeli society, include security forces, include Supreme Court judges. For example, we have one Supreme Court judge, his name Gibran, before, and he also from my town. He's like origins from my town here. And we know now high positions in the foreign ministry. We have ambassador in Azerbaijan, he's a Christian as well. And in the interior ministry, we have we call it Moshel. Moshel in Hebrew means like a person who is in charge for a district. The person who is in charge for the district of Haifa region, which is a huge district, he's a Christian as well in the interior ministry. He's from Kfar Birem. His name is Hanna. Okay, Faiz Hanna. We have many people involved in high-tech industry, and we have doctors, many of them, many of us doctors and nurses, lawyers, famous soccer players and sport and other sports representing Israel in worldwide, the national team of Israel, actresses. And just to let you know, just to remind you, soccer player, why I mentioned that? Because in Egypt, a Christian Coptic cannot be a soccer player in the national team of Egypt, because this is apartheid state, not allowing Christians to be a soccer players in the national team. In Israel, we are allowed, and we have one guy, his name Zahi Armali. He was like one famous, even in the 80s. I remember, I was kid, I was raised on that time, and I remember him. He was like a hero for us, playing in the national team, and he was very famous, and many Jews, like, he has supporters and many Jews like him. He was representing our country and doing very good for the country. So in Egypt, they are not allowed the Christians to do so. So let's talk about Arab regimes and not Israel, the only democracy that allowing everyone to live here freely and in democracy and in very Western values. High rank IDF officers. We have one of our Aramaic Christian people. He become very high officer. I am a captain. He is a lieutenant general already. And he was appointed like 2 years ago as a general lieutenant or lieutenant general. And I think he's gonna be even be more advanced in the IDF in a very high ranks. So we enjoy, I can tell you, in Passover and the Palm Sunday, we have you know, our traditional celebrations, going on the streets with palm trees, with olive trees, and having the scouts going on the streets. All the streets are closed off in big cities with Jews, in Haifa and in Nazareth and in other locations, and nobody bothering them, and that it is under the protection of the police, and they allow them the freedom to worship and to act as they are. Do the Christians in Arab countries able to do that? can they dare to go out in demonstration, like not demonstration, and in traditional celebrations in the streets on Palm Sunday? Can they do in Christmas their celebrations freely in the streets without being attacked in Arab countries? Here in Israel, we are doing it. So let's talk about facts and see the facts as it is. And you will also as well decide where is better for Christians to live. Yes, Israel, let's be honest as well, it's a new democracy. And even the great democracy of the United States of America, we can see what's happening on it now. It has its own imperfection, and any democracy has its own imperfection. And of course, Israel as a new democracy has its own. And because it's democracy, we can have a hope of it, in it, and we can improve things in it. While Christians in autocratic and kingdom regimes in Islamic states, they cannot do anything and they have no hope for any change of their lives for better in the future. Here, we always have a hope because we live under Israeli Zionist country that has democratic law, and you have a hope to change always for a better and better and better. Here, we can see also one of the things, my friends, about the Aramaic Israeli model that we are leading, and I am leading since 2007. And guess what? I started doing so after I was a student in Las Vegas, Nevada. I didn't gamble, I'm telling you. It's not, I wasn't a gambler, but I studied 4 years international business and finance. And I was dreaming about my American dream after finishing my military service, going to the US, wanted to build my world, my American dream, and the good world, what you mean, and the easy life. And this course, I had the last semester a course called Bible as English Literature. And the instructor, his name was a Catholic conservative, his name was John. And we read a sentence called Talitha Kumi. He told us, don't think that Jesus, wait, this is not English, this is Aramaic. It's a language that died and doesn't exist. And Jesus, unfortunately, used to speak it like the most Jews at that time in the Holy Land, and it doesn't exist anymore. So excuse me, professor, what do you mean it doesn't exist? I'm still, I mean, we still pray it. We have some people even speak on it as well as a spoken mother tongue language. He said, excuse me, who you are? I told him, I'm Israeli Christian. I belong to the Syriac Maronite Church of Antioch. And we live and we pray on this. He said, you know what? You have a mission. Next week, prepare for us presentation. So I prepared presentation, and I told them the Lord Prayer in Jesus' Aramaic language. And then I saw people asking me how we can help your people, how we can help you be better and stronger in Israel and stronger together in Israel with the state. I said, look, these Americans pushing me back to Israel to go to my people and to my state and to my country and help my country, and I want to live and stay in the US. So this changed my mind. I came back and I started this model of Aramaic Israeli model to try to increase awareness and in a positive Christian engagement, peaceful model for us and for all Israeli minorities to duplicate it or to copy it in order to make a coexistence between all of us in the country. If we succeed as a Christian, in a positive Christian engagement model as Aramaic model, it will be a model for other minorities to follow this positive way, positive case, and this will make Israel as well a stronger society and a stronger country. So it's good for the Zionist plan of building a Jewish democratic state in Israel, in the forefathers' land of the Jewish people. So the goals were reviving Syriac Aramaic identity, language, heritage, and culture among Israeli Christians, increase awareness, educate Middle Eastern Christian about Middle Eastern Christians and among nations about the region and faith and roots of the Jews and native Christians in Israel. And we are testimony. We as Aramaic speakers, and developed from Judaism, we are testimony for the Jews that they belong to this land as well. They are not colonialists. They didn't come from Europe or from whatever just because they want to come here. They originally from here, and we are as well a testimony for their existence because we developed from them. And this language is still a testimony for their language as well in the Galilee as they spoke it by Jesus as well. So advocating for the rights of the Israeli Christian is one issue as well we are dealing with. And you know, there are always things to improve, always. In any democracy, always there are good things to improve. And the better is the more, like the more is the better. Help the Jews, Zionists worldwide defend Israel with a stronger message, because if we are integrated in a better way always, we are helping also Israel and Jews to show a good model for us fighting this BDS and anti-Semitic movement in our ideologies in the world, in UK, in Europe, or wherever it is, that try to use Christians in a cynical way against Jews. So this is what we are actually doing. Here, I'm gonna show you one model, how we do it. One model is I actually founded this program called ICC, what it's called Jewish Interfaith Educational Leadership Program. We have training for 7 months for 25 Christians and 25 Jews from the land, from here, putting them together under one house, learning them teaching them about each other's identity, about each other background, about history of the Middle East, giving them Hebrew skills. Those Christians living under Arab majority Muslim towns, they grow up without a strong Hebrew. Without strong Hebrew, they cannot integrate well in the Israeli bigger society, which need a strong Hebrew language. So we take them, put them together with Jews, and in 7 months, they need to speak Hebrew. They will come out with very professional Hebrew skills that will allow them success in the society and in the country and in the military service that they go to it afterward. In this program, we have many, actually until now, in this program, we have until now many officers. Many officers, moment. Excuse me, I need to open the door. Sorry.
That's okay, we can have a little bit of break. Please do submit questions, everyone. And maybe Shadi will show us his blog a little bit later.
Sorry. Excuse me.
That's fine.
Sorry. I have also another program which is education, and this is education control program, which is taking kids from early stages. I already doing it for the last 10 years, having them in Aramaic summer camp each summer in our original town of Birem, teaching them about their culture, heritage, language, the common roots with the Jewish people, about the Israeli society, bringing like some officials to speak to them, to make them, to get them closer to the country and accepting the country. So when they grow up, they won't see the country as doesn't belong to them. They feel this is their country, they are part of it, and they need to defend it and contribute to it, and see their Jews as brothers in the land. So it all depends on education. Here we have a project called the Aramaic Registration Identity. Just to let you know, I need to thank Israel again, and thanks God we have Israel, that it is the only country in the world, not only in the Middle East, that recognized our people, our native Christian people, as Aramaic population. While in other countries here in the Middle East, where our people speak Aramaic language, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Iraq, and they are not allowed to be recognized as Arameans, here in Israel, Israel recognized us in September 16, 2014, after my meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, after meeting the Interior Minister Gideon Saar. We were able to fix our identity from being Israeli citizen and written in the subtitle as Arabs to Israeli Aramaic Christian, which is very essential for us. First of all, because this is the original roots of us. This is what the truth, this is the fact, this is what we are. Second, it's easier when you have your own identity back, being revived and being preserved, then you have your own leaders trying to integrate your people according to your needs, according to your cultural and educational needs, and not just giving you something that doesn't belong to you. So once you are registered as Arameans or Aramaic Christians, then you have educational needs, you have a cultural needs, you have a community needs that is so different from, let's say, it's Muslim needs. And Muslims, they have their own needs, that's fine. Then we don't intervene with them and they don't intervene with us. They don't represent us and we don't represent them. But we are all Israelis living under one statehood, and everyone has his own needs, language, linguistic, whatever, cultural, and so on and so on. So it's very important step for the Christians for better integration within Israel, and Israel will be better understanding our needs and helping us achieving them. Here I have another program that you need to know is encouraging Christians to serve in the IDF. And why is that? First of all, because I was there and I know what is IDF. And it is the most ethical military force, not only in the Middle East, even in the Western world. I know how we, as soldiers, we were trying to be so sensitive in the most hard and difficult situations that we faced during our service, my friends. And I know, I speak Arabic, I speak Aramaic, I speak Hebrew, all the Semitic languages, I speak them. And of course, a little bit English. But I speak Arabic. When I was serving in Lebanon and in the West Bank, I treated the other side in a good way, and I spoke with them their language to help them. We helped so many people that they were in need on in those places. We don't go just for any punishment if the guy who is against you is not doing something harmful for us or wrong for or terrorist attack against our civilians or anything else. So the IDF is very crucial or essential for integrating populations in Israel. It is a culture, it's beside being a military force defending Israel, it has also a social actually role of bringing population together under one statehood of Israel, making them all Israelis, understanding each other's, knowing each other's, living with each other's in coexistence. This is, my friend, a melting pot for Israeli society. And I know how many Jewish friends I made out of the IDF. Until now, they are my best friends. And beside that, we have a project of building the first monument for Israeli Christian fallen soldiers. We have 22 martyrs, Israeli fallen soldiers, Christians martyrs, that they don't have a monument. And now I got a permit from the Ministry of Defense or approval, basic approval to build the first Christian monument for martyrs, Israeli IDF Christian martyrs here in the region, and a visitor center for them as well. So you guys, one day after this COVID-19 will be ended, and if you come to visit us, we will host you on that location and talk with you and explain to you more in deep about Israel and the greatness of Israel and this country and the coexistence in it. Here I can show you, I am hosting many groups, Christian groups, Jewish groups from different backgrounds, and make them good ambassadors for Israel after understanding the truth about Israel. And speaking the truth will set you always free. This is not my words. For you, for those of you who are Christians will understand what Jesus said. And for Jews, they know tzedek, tzedek, tirdof, which means justice, justice go after justice, always truth will set you free, my friends. This is the only way you can expose Israel, and Israel is the truth, and it is the country that allow of us Christian and Jews and other minorities freedom and coexistence and safety and security, because we have, my friends, a strong military forces defending our borders and allowing all citizens in the country live peacefully among each other. Imagine IDF was not there. I couldn't host anyone, I couldn't speak to any other one, and we couldn't have even interior peace. So this is, we are hosting many groups. Here I host, in the right side, you can see like a Christian students we are hosting through Philos Project, and as I am a Philos Fellow as well. And passages like evangelical Christians as well coming here to learn about Israel through a Christian narrative, through a Christian way, that are a loyal citizen of the state and a good citizen of the state that want good for it and for the Jews and Christians and other minorities in it. So we host 5,000 of them each year. This year was canceled. We are postponing it to December. They will come back. Hopefully, nothing will change, and we will be able to do it again. I also go to different conferences to speak about this. I was in the United States. I was in UK with CFI, with Jacob Vince, with different conferences with CFI. I was in UN, United Nations, speaking about the Aramaic identity recognition for Christians in Israel back in 2015 as well. And beside all that, my friends, who doesn't like our activities? Of course, some Arabic fanatic forces and parties in the region include Hezbollah, the Islamic Party of Hezbollah, who, for example, because of what we are doing in Israel here, the Aramaic Revival Project, look what they did. Together with fanatic leaders in Arabic parties here, they start incitements against us. In Lebanon, they jailed our brothers and sisters from the Maronite Christian people and put them in jail just for reviving Aramaic. Why? Because they were like doing the same project that we are doing here in Israel. And they put a flyer in their newspapers and in the TV station of Hezbollah, putting me in the center. Look at this. This is my picture. Writing on it, Shadi Khalloul, it's in Arabic, of course. They wrote, this is a Mossad officer agent who are leading a network of the project Israeli Lebanese Aramaic, or the Israeli Lebanese Aramaic project. Just imagine, only for reviving Aramaic and keeping our indigenous identity, they cannot even accept it. And they don't want, because this makes Jews and Christians understand each other better and get together. And they don't want to see this process happening. So they threat Christians in Lebanon. They threat Christians in Syria. Even in Palestinian Authority, under Palestine, they threat them if they see any close relations between them and Israel and Jews. So they want the Christians to be always dhimmis and follow their actually orders, and not being a separate and acting separately based on their values and rights as a people, and be together asking for peace in the region with the Jews and with all people around them. So
Shadi,
they put, yes, I am finishing here. Just
okay.
before,
I'm finishing. Spare a bit of time. We've got quite a few questions.
Look at this soldier. She was a Christian soldier. They put they threat against them, put threats in Facebook and social media and the newspaper against her, and from some Arabic parties and extremists like communist Arabic parties of Israel, and they are Israeli members, Knesset members, who also spoke about our movement and against us for being together with the Jews and Israel. Look, all this in their media, all these things I'm going to show you very quickly. All conferences, incitement in their social media, against our recruitment form. This Knesset member, Hanin Zobi, Arabic Knesset member, attacked me personally in the Knesset. And she said, we will not allow any conference pass on Nazareth if they speak about recruitment to IDF and national or civil service. Incitement against our youth that we were explaining to them about the IDF, they put their picture inciting against them. This is a communist party, as you see, here in the streets of Nazareth. So Christians cannot live in Nazareth, a sign against Christianity in front of the Church of Annunciation. So all those things, in order to help Christians better integrate and much being a stronger community with the Jews in Israel, we need to act being wise, to be wise, and do a very follow our Aramaic movement model, which is Christian Aramaic IDF service, revitalizing the language and identity to take responsibility of our leadership on ourselves, building Aramaic Zionist courageous leadership to call for coexistence, developing unique Aramaic educational separate pedagogic system, because we are forced to learn under Islamic Arabic system that doesn't allow you to learn your own things and your own roots and common roots with the Jews, which make the Christians get away from actually Jews here. Independent Christian representation within Jewish parties, and I was a model for it. Once I succeed, many other Christians will follow, and we can help the Christian community within the Knesset, the parliament, to integrate in a stronger way and faster way, and building 2 or 3 like very small tiny villages to preserve the language and call for them to be under compulsory IDF service as a model for others to follow. This is the town that I am trying to build. Here I have a meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu, and you can go to the link on above and follow and read exactly, or write it in Google, and you can see what's the plan that we are trying to do. And questions.
Well done, Shadi. Thank you very much. Awful lot of information to cover it in a very short space of time. I hope you found that informative and interesting. I've got a couple of questions here, which there's a number asking how you work with other Christian background peoples like Greek Orthodox and Aramaic. Perhaps you can just say a little bit about that. And the other thing is, I've been asked about the flags behind you. So perhaps you can answer those questions very briefly, because there's still quite a flood coming through.
Okay, so quickly, the other Christians in the Aramaic movement, when we say Aramaic movement, it includes all Christians from different backgrounds, with indigenous Christians in the land that come from different churches: Syriac Orthodox Church, Syriac Catholic Church, Greek Melkite Church, and Greek Orthodox Church. We also have members of those churches, or even Protestant churches and evangelical ones and Anglican ones here in the land. They also know that their origins as native Christians are Aramaic, so they also registered as Arameans in their identity. So we include all Christians together with our Maronite identity, or as a Maronites together as Aramaic people. So Aramaic is a wider umbrella for all Christians. Okay. And besides is the Aramaic flag, the red one. And here you can see the Maronite flag with this Maronite flag here down. You can see it with the cross. It was the flag on the 7th century when Arabic Islamic forces occupied the region. The Maronites fled to the upper mountains of Lebanon, and being isolated, they formed a military force, 40,000 soldiers, with the head of the church leading it, the Patriarch John Maroon, and the flag was this flag.
Good. I think you know Ismail Khaldi, who's a Bedouin diplomat, and yes. Your reaction, apparently he was attacked recently. You familiar with that and what happened there?
Well, as I understood about Ismail Khaldi incident, I just read like you. I don't know exactly what happened there, but I understood that he didn't want to. He was asked, as the guards say, he was asked to be, to give his identity and show and see who is he actually, and he didn't want. And I don't know, they had argument with him, and it developed to what it developed until today. And now with this situation in the US, everyone now try to make like, a big news out of things. But it's something that you face in any location in the world. You go to it, and you need to go in airport. If you don't identify yourself, and just because you feel you are important person, uh, people will not like it. So I don't know exactly if this is the situation or this is the case that was happening with Khaldi, but
Okay.
I cannot answer this question because I don't know exactly the facts.
That's
I
fine.
was
No,
not there.
I've been asked whether you're the only Christian spokesperson for this movement. Are there others that can speak, or you're training up a few that are able to speak as eloquently as you are?
We have also.
I think it's a compliment, by the way.
Thank you. I have many other ladies as well that already like helping me. My assistant, actually, my deputy, she's a lady. Her name is Naveen Makhul, and she's also very outspoken in there. We have also a major in the army. She was major. Now she's like learning her doctorate about Aramaic identity in Israel and in the region in Bar Ilan University. Her name is Natalie Dow as well. And she's also outspoken, and she speaks out for these issues. And we have another major in the IDF. His name is Ehab Shlaian from Nazareth. And he's a Greek Orthodox, actually. And he's also speaking out very loudly on these issues. And actually in the IDF, he actually founded the first unit in the IDF called Aram unit in the IDF, and he's heading the unit. And all this unit is, Jews. So
Okay.
we have many Christians outspoken there. Some of them, of course, they're afraid. You know that some Christians are afraid to speak out in Nazareth and in other locations because of the incitement and of the threat of the Muslim Arabic fanatic leaders that live there, and they don't want to allow Christians to speak out on behalf of Israel. And so we are a courageous people, and we speak out. And I was a candidate for the Knesset, and I have 10,000 people voted for a Zionist Jewish party called Israel Our Home.
Very good. Just a couple of other things, a couple of other questions we've got here. Talking about the Aramaic language, is it Aramaic or Syriac? And does it differ significantly from the Aramaic spoken by Jews who originate from Kurdistan or some other areas?
Okay, the Jews who lived in Kurdistan speak the same dialect of Aramaic like the Christians who lived in the same villages in their region. And they lived in that same Christian village. And those ones who are in that region are called Syriac Aramaic Nestorians churches as a Christian. So those speak the same language like the Jews. But the ones who are in Western Syria of Christians of Aramaic background, the churches, like Syriac Aramaic churches, are having a Akkadian dialect that we are called Soryoyo, which is a Western dialect of Aramaic, which is very close to the Galilean dialect that we have here in the Galilee.
And I think I also asked about other Christians about the Armenians. Would they come in would you have links with the Armenian Church at all?
Okay, the Armenian Church is a different church, is more like Indo-European church. It's not a Semitic churches like we are. And they have their own patriarchy, they have their own development, they have their own language and identity, and they don't cover or they don't come under the identity of Aramaic people. But as a Christian brothers, we also deal with them as a Christian. Like we deal with British Christians, we deal with American Christians, we deal with other Christians as, you know, as brothers and sisters, in Christ, was one body of Christ.
Good. I think we're coming to the end of our time together, but it's been a fascinating discussion, very wide-ranging over the history. Pity you're not able to come over here and speak, because you were going to be over here again during this period. That was the plan. But we will find ways to engage. Another quick question was, whereabouts was the monument going to be? And obviously, no doubt we can find a little bit more about that as well, and people coming over to visit you at some point.
Okay, the monument gonna be in our region where I live, very close to our area. In one, the country actually chose a location of 1 acre, which about 4 dunam. And we have already the plans, we have architectural plans, we have everything, and we need to finalize the last thing with one authority, and then by next year, hopefully by next year, this Memorial Day before Independent Israeli Day, we will have the opening of the memorial with official ceremony with the ministers or defense minister of Israel.
Wonderful. And so hopefully, you know, wish you success with that, continuing work with registering more Christians with an Aramaic identity. Now, if you have
important.
I know it's quite costly to do, and it's not an easy thing, but it's an important thing, and also for your families. I think you were the first one to register, if I'm correct.
Yes, yes, I was the first one, and I am trying to build the first Aramaic school too, because I understand education. If you catch the education or hold the education, you hold the future.
Wow. Very well spoken. Well, thank you everyone for participating and listening. Thank you for all the questions. Sorry we weren't able to get them in. Thank you again for the
Jacob, allow me to thank everybody for listening and for being with us. The Federation of the UK, CFI for helping us, you yourself, Jacob, personally, and I invite everyone to come visit us and involve with us and be actually more active for Israel, for us, and for the Zionist actually plan to build a Jewish homeland, a democratic one for all, because this is the only place where we as Christians can live peacefully, while in other Arab countries you can see the destiny of Christianity is actually catastrophe.
It's a real challenge. Many people that are sending messages of thanks to you. Really appreciated your warmth, your openness, and you know, wish you all success on into the future.
Thank you. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you.
God bless you all. Thank you, everyone.